So you're back to watch me suffer. Well, I appreciate it. That's a throwback to my Ralts video. Last time I took on Pokemon Emerald with only a Bagon, and that was absolute torture. This time we're gonna find out if you can beat Pokemon Firered with only a Wingull. If we take a look at Wingull's stats, its speed is at 85, which is decent, but the other stats are pretty rough. With Wingull's special attack at 55, it definitely could be worse, but this is definitely going to be a challenge. Looking at the moves Wingull can learn from level up, they are not good whatsoever. We start off with Water Gun, which is definitely going to help out with the Brock, but literally there are no other moves on here that are actually going to be viable to use throughout the entire game. We may use Wing Attack, but it's really not that strong. And if we take a look at the TMs that we could actually learn, Water Pulse is our strongest water type move. For some reason, we cannot learn Surf, and that's definitely going to make this challenge more difficult. Luckily, we can learn Ice Beam, so we're definitely going to pick that up. With the moves out of the way, let's get into the rules for this run. Rule number 1 is no using other Pokemon in battle besides Wingull. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Rule number 2 is no using items in battle. Held items are going to be allowed though. And last but not least, no using hacks, glitches, or exploits of any kind. You know, besides getting Wingull at the very beginning. And with the rules out of the way, let's get into this. So like at the very beginning of every run I do, I name myself Tion and try to go into some grass, but Oak ends up stopping me, kidnaps me, takes me back to his lab, and makes us choose a pocket monster. I ended up replacing Charmander, that way our rival will choose Squirtle. Eventually it will evolve into a Blastoise, giving us the hardest challenge. Our Wingull is a female, and because of popular request, I named it Pico. And of course, since we only start off with Water Gun and Growl, we end up losing this rival battle even though we got a critical hit with one of our Water Guns. We actually don't have to win this battle to progress, so we move on. I make my way through Viridian Forest and take on most of the trainers. And since we do start off with Water Gun, I'm not really scared of Brock considering his Pokemon have really bad special defense. I took on one more trainer to get to level 10, and now I decided to take on Brock even though we do get out leveled. I end up going for Water Gun here, actually getting a one-hit KO on Geodude, which I can't really say was surprising. I get to level 11, which is definitely helpful, and next up is Onix at level 14, and I end up going for Water Gun once again, making it another one-hit KO. I literally didn't have to grind at all for this gym, which is super relieving considering I have to for about 90% of my runs. Next up is Mount Moon, and I get a few levels going through it. I'm at level 17 now, and I'm pretty easily able to take down the Super Nerd, and next up I have to choose a fossil. And for some reason, people keep asking me what fossil I pick, so I end up choosing the Helix fossil, because I guess it's good for the YouTube algorithm. Next up is Misty, and I really didn't think I'd be able to stand a chance against her. I just wanted to see where I was at with the moves I have, because I completely expected to get destroyed during this battle. I did end up learning Supersonic, which is a really useful move if it actually hits with its awful 55% accuracy. Staryu then tries to stall us out with Recover like it always does. I end up using Wing Attack because I know that Water Gun isn't going to do much damage. He actually ends up going for Harden here, so we take him out with another Wing Attack. Next out is Starmie, and this is where I completely expected to get Bulldozed, but I actually end up living with 26 HP, getting hit with a Water Pulse, confusing Starmie. It hits itself in confusion, then I use Wing Attack. Starmie then hits itself again, and I use Wing Attack once again, and for the third and final time, he actually ends up hitting himself, and I finish him off with a critical Wing Attack. This was actually pretty crazy. This was obviously all reliant on RNG, and I did this live, so it was pretty crazy considering this was also my first attempt. I ended up also replacing Growl with Mist. I'm not really sure where Mist would come in handy, but just in case. But yeah, getting the second gym badge only at level 21 with pure luck is just amazing in my opinion. Next up is our rival in front of Nugget Bridge, and we end up getting hit with a quick attack here, so I just end up going for a few Wing Attacks to take Pidgeotto out. Next out is Rattata, who ends up going for a quick attack as we hit it with a Wing Attack, almost taking it out as we use Wing Attack one more time to finish it off. Next out is Squirtle at level 18, and I end up going for Wing Attack once again because it's just the best move as it ends up going for Withdrawal here. I keep going for Wing Attack as it goes for Withdrawal again, hits us with a Tackle, and we keep using Wing Attack to finish it off. We only have 2 HP left, which is super scary, but luckily for us, Abra is the last thing left, and it has no attacking moves. It easily goes down with 1 Wing Attack, and just like that, we defeat our rival. I then make my way to Bill's house, and after helping him, he gives us an SS ticket. Once I actually make my way into the SS, and I have to take on our rival once again, and I easily take out his Pidgeotto and Raticate. Next up is Cadabra, who goes down to a Wing Attack, and last but not least is his Wartortle. Now we both actually don't have moves that could really do much damage to each other, but he ends up going for Withdrawal here, just making using Wing Attack more annoying, but eventually I do finally end up taking him out. I may or may not have accidentally killed his Raticate in the process. I then go see the captain, and after I rub his back and make him feel better, he gives us HM01 Cut, which is going to get us to the 3rd gym. And I actually didn't know this, but you could actually skip Lieutenant Surge, and that's definitely what I'm going to end up doing because every single time I tried, this happened. Surge actually isn't necessary to beat until way later in the game, so we're going to come back once we have a few more levels, or a lot more levels. I make my way through Rock Tunnel, and since we did have a decent water move using Water Pulse, the TM that we got from Misty, it was pretty easy. I make my way to Erica's gym, which is a grass gym of course, and we do have Wing Attack, which is super effective against their Pokemon, so I'm pretty sure it's going to go pretty good. I use Wing Attack on Victory Bell, doing a lot of damage as she misses her Stun Spore, so I take her out with only one more Wing Attack. Next that is Tangela at level 24, and it ends up taking massive damage from Wing Attack, but it ends up going for Ingrain, so I just take it out with another Wing Attack. Last but not least is Vileplume at level 29, and I end up going for Wing Attack, of course doing half damage. It misses the Stun Spore, and I finish it off with one more Wing Attack. This did take a few attempts because if we did get paralyzed, they would end up outspeeding, and they would just do a lot of damage with Giga Drain, so this only took about 6 attempts to do. Then missing Stun Spore was absolutely crucial to winning this battle. Next I decided to take on Giovanni in the Rocket Hideout, and considering he does have 2 rock types, Water Pulse is easily able to take them both out. The only Pokemon we had to worry about on Giovanni's team is Kangaskhan, which is a normal type and definitely could dish out a lot of damage. I end up hitting Kangaskhan with a Water Pulse as it ends up going for Bite and then Tail Whip, and I thought it was going to use Mega Punch to finish us off, but it goes for another Bite, so we just finish it off with one more Water Pulse. The AI in this game is a lot better from Generation 1, but definitely can be improved. I mean, I'm not complaining about an easy battle or anything, but yeah, never mind. I don't want them to fix the AI. It's perfect. I then head back to the Lost Tower to face our rival once again. He leads off with a Pidgeotto who gets hit with Water Pulse, gets confused, hits itself in confusion, and then goes down with one more Water Pulse. Next up is Growlith at level 23 who goes down to one Water Pulse, obviously because it's super effective. Next up is Execute at level 22 who takes massive damage from Wing Attack and goes down with one more. Pico also levels up to level 42, so that's nice. Next out is Cadabra, and I end up going for Water Pulse here, almost enough to one-shot it as it hits us with a confusion. We live with plenty of HP, take it out with a Water Pulse, and last up is Wartortle. And once again, we really don't have good moves to hit each other with, so I just end up going for Wing Attack as he sets up a few withdraws, but then I finally finish him off with a Wing Attack. At level 42, we have a huge level advantage, and we still almost lost this battle. That really shows you how weak Pico is right now. Making my way to the top floor of the Lost Tower, we run into a Ghost who is just a level 30 Marowak. It's pretty strong, but goes down to only 2 Water Pulses. Once we make it to the top, there are a few Team Rocket grunts, and they are easily taken care of. We then get Mr. Fuji back to his house where he rewards us with the Poke Flute. Next up is Koga, and I did do a lot of grinding because I failed this battle so many times. Koga leads off with a level 37 Coughing, so I end up going for Water Pulse, actually getting a one-hit KO, and I definitely didn't expect that. Next up is Muck, and it took Water Pulse a lot better, but I got the lucky Confusion as it hits itself in Confusion a couple of times, leaving it with only a sliver of HP as it ends up going for Minimize. Of course, it gets healed up with a Hyper Potion as I continue to go for Water Pulse, missing some, but overall I do end up connecting with most of them. And as soon as I connect with my other Water Pulse, I knock it into Hyper Potion range once again as it hits itself in Confusion, and this is super annoying because it got healed up again. And for the third and final time, I finally take down Muck, getting a critical hit. Next out is Coughing, and I think I could one-shot, but it ends up surviving and then hits me with Toxic, which is super annoying. It goes down with one more Water Pulse, and last but not least is Wheezing. And because I have Toxic on me, I only have a few turns to work with, but luckily I do get a Confusion and then it gets cured with a full heal. Luckily Wheezing doesn't get off an attack and Koga's actually out of Hyper Potion, so we use one more Water Pulse to finish him off. If we spent even one more turn in that battle with Toxic on us, we would have went down, so we got super lucky to get this far. I really didn't expect to win that attempt, but hey, I'll take it. I may or may not have forgot that this battle existed because it literally took like 10 seconds, and especially since I was doing speed up, it just went by really fast. But yeah, I one-shot every single one of Surge's Pokemon. Weak. The best revenge. I then go pick up the TM for Ice Beam because Ice Beam is just a fantastic move. It's always nice having a nice priority move, but Quick Attack is just too weak at this point, and Ice Beam is infinitely times better. I then make my way to Silphco to fight our rival, and since we have Ice Beam, I think it's gonna go pretty well. Our rival leads off with a Pidgeot at level 37, and we do have a pretty good level advantage, so I end up going for Ice Beam here, and it's not a one-hit KO, but it gets super close. I then get hit with Wing Attack, but then I finish Pidgeot off with one more Ice Beam. Next out is Growlith at level 38, and obviously this is gonna go down to one Water Pulse because it's super effective and we massively outlevel it. Next out is Execute at level 35, and I know Ice Beam's gonna do a lot of damage. I'm not sure if it's gonna be a one-shot though, and it is, so that's pretty good. Next out is Alakazam, and even though I did get intimidated, I still end up going for Wing Attack, but then he sets up a Reflect. That's way too much, so I just finish him off with an Ice Beam. And last but not least, the Mon we always have trouble taking out, Blastoise at level 40. I end up going for Supersonic here. It actually connects, and he hits himself in Confusion as I go for Ice Beam. He breaks out and then hits us with Bite, which actually does a lot of damage, so I go for the Ice Beam once again. He gets confused and hits himself again, which is amazing as the Reflect wears off. And now that Reflect's gone, I could go for Wing Attack, but Blastoise ends up going for Protect twice, just delaying the inevitable as I hit it with a Wing Attack. It's actually a critical hit and it takes it out. That was my first try at level 54, now level 55, and I cannot be happier. Wingull keep trying to evolve, but I absolutely will not let him because he's just too cute. I end up picking up the Lapras to use him as an HM slave, and I end up naming him Subscribe. Listen here, you 75.6% of you, if you subscribe, I will personally send you a cookie. Next up in Silph Co is Giovanni, and he leads off with a level 37 Nidorino as I hit him with a Water Pulse, doing a lot, and one more is enough to take it out. Next out is Rhyhorn, and he obviously is terrified of water, so he goes down with one Water Pulse. Next out is Kangaskhan at level 35, and I end up going for Ice Beam, but first I get hit with a strong Fake Out, but Ice Beam's actually doing a ton of damage. For some reason, Kangaskhan ended up going for Rage, which is just awful, so I take it out with one more Ice Beam, and next up is Nidoqueen. Ice Beam almost does half, but I get a bad roll on the second Ice Beam, and it's just short of taking it out as it hits me with the Poison Sting. I'm left with 18 HP, get poisoned, but then I finish it off with one more Ice Beam. If we take 5 steps in any direction, we are going to die, but unfortunately, that's as close to victory as we are going to get. Also, Jack Master Ball from this old dude who's sitting on the couch. I'm not really sure what he's doing here, but I think he's a janitor. Next up is Sabrina, and we do have a good level advantage over Sabrina as well, since we're all the way up at level 58 at this point, and I end up going for Wing Attack on Cadabra here, and it gets a 1-hit KO because he has bad physical defense. Next up is Mr. Mime, so I end up going for Wing Attack once again. It does a lot of damage, it ends up surviving, not putting it in the healing range, which is good, so we take it out with one more Wing Attack after it uses Calm Mind. Next out is Venomoth at level 38, and I have no idea why this is in the gym considering it's not a Psychic type, so I take it out with only 2 Ice Beams. Last but not least is Alakazam at level 43, and even at level 43, I know he could one-shot us with Psychic, so I end up going for Wing Attack, but I don't have to worry about it because it was a critical hit. Don't ask me how many attempts this took. Now that Sabrina's out of the way, next up is Blaine, and then the secret 8th gym leader who we have no idea who it is, but I'm assuming that Wingull's not gonna have an issue with either of them. Blaine's gym was really straightforward considering he only used fire types. Growlith goes down to 1 Water Pulse, and next up is Ponyta, who also goes down to 1 Water Pulse. Surprise, surprise. Next up is Rapidash at level 42, and this thing actually ends up surviving a Water Pulse and hits us with a Fire Blast, doing a decent amount of damage, but then gets healed up with a Hyper Potion because Blaine just likes wasting my time, I guess. Eventually, Rapidash meets its end after using Water Pulse a couple more times. Last but not least is Arcanine at level 47, and I end up going for a Water Pulse, doing a decent amount, not quite enough to one-shot as we get hit with a Fire Blast. We're only left with 19 HP, but one more Water Pulse is enough to take it out. Now that Blaine's out of the way, last up is the 8th and final secret gym leader. If you have any guesses on who it could be, leave it down in the comments below. It's good for the YouTube algorithm. And oh my goodness, guys, it's Giovanni. I would have never guessed that. Rhyhorn goes down with only 1 Water Pulse, and next up is something I don't know because I don't have a script. It's Rhyhorn again, and it goes down with 1 Water Pulse. I'm leaving that in. Our trio's out next, and it ends up getting taken out with a Water Pulse. And next up is a Nidoqueen at level 44 who takes a ton of damage from Water Pulse but hangs on. Giovanni then goes for a Hyper Potion to heal up Nidoqueen, but I just keep on going for Water Pulse, and eventually I take it out. Now that Nidoqueen is taken care of, last but not least is Nidoking at level 45. He barely survives a Water Pulse as he ends up going for Thresh, but I live with 74 HP and finish him off with one more Water Pulse to win. And after one of the easiest gym battles ever, we defeat Giovanni and get the Earth Badge. I obviously wasn't expecting too much from this. On our way to Victory Road, I actually run into my rival once again, and most of his team is actually pretty easy to take care of. Pidgeot goes down with an Ice Beam, Rhyhorn goes down with a Water Pulse, Growlith goes down with a Water Pulse, and Execute goes down with an Ice Beam. Alakazam usually is the one that took us out, but we just end up getting lucky here and live on 11 HP as we take him out. Last up is Blastoise at level 53, and I get a freeze, which is just hilarious because any move that hits us, we are going down. But we got so lucky that he actually ended up staying frozen this entire time, and I was able to take it out. Now, realistically, if you want to do this run, you just teach Wingull Shockwave, because for some reason, Wingull could learn Shockwave, but I just didn't think about it at the time. I honestly thought we were going to be stuck grinding for a very long time, so I'm super happy that that freeze hacks happened. Eventually, I find my way out of Victory Road. Now it's time to grind up for the Elite Four. I'm also going to go pick up any rare candies that I may have missed. I'm also going to pick up leftovers, so that's going to take a while to get. It takes a while, but eventually I do gather 30 Pokemon and get the item finder so I can get leftovers. Hopping into the battle with Lorelei, getting all the way to level 78, using my rare candies and grinding up a few levels, we get absolutely bodied by Dugong. And even when I did make it to Lapras, I would burn through almost all of my PP, and I did not have very many PP restoring items. There wouldn't be a crazy move that I could learn by any— Oh, hey, look at that. So yes, I had to learn Shockwave for this battle, just for this battle actually. And I also learned Double Team because this battle was just insane and there was no way I was grinding up to level 100 unless I absolutely needed to. Lorelei, like I said, was extremely annoying to take down. I needed to get all my Double Team set up so I could actually end up using Shockwave because Ice Beam was actually doing a lot of damage to us. Eventually, I get all my Double Team set up and I start using Shockwave. Unfortunately, Dugong's able to survive 2 Shockwaves and it lives with just a little bit of HP, so it gets healed up with a full restore, but I take it right back down with more Shockwaves. Next out is Cloyster, who has really good physical defense but really bad special, so I hit it with a couple Shockwaves to take it out. Next out is Slowbro, and Shockwave is just barely enough to take it out in 2 hits. Next out is Jinx, and I start with Shockwave, but then I switch to Water Pulse, and eventually I confuse it and it takes itself out. Last up is Lapras, and I just end up going for Shockwave a lot. Now I do get confused here, but luckily I don't actually end up hitting myself in confusion as I just keep on spamming Shockwave and eventually I take him out. That was a super annoying Lorelei fight, but next up is Bruno, and hopefully he won't be as bad. Now Bruno surprisingly took me a couple of attempts to actually beat. Next out is Hitmonchan, and I end up going for Water Pulse on him as well as he misses a Rock Tomb twice, which is just wild. Next out is Machamp, and I end up hitting him with a Water Pulse. He gets hurt in confusion, and even though he has a Citrus Berry, he ends up going down. Hitmonlee's next, and I barely end up taking him out because his Mega Kicks did a ton of damage, but last out was Onyx, and I end up easily taking him out with a Water Pulse. Looking back at it, I think the easiest way to win this battle is to have Wing Attack or Fly because I got super lucky in that one. Next up was Agatha, and this one definitely wasn't easy. If I don't actually end up getting Toxic, I'm able to do some damage to Gengar, and I get lucky in this run and actually take it out with a combination of moves. Next out is Golbat, and I knew this was a good chance to set up some double teams because her other Pokemon were absolutely destroying me. Plus, half of them love spamming Toxic, so this was my way around it. Golbat goes down with a Shockwave, and next out is Arbok, who goes down with only 3 Water Pulses. Next out is her other Gengar, who is way more offensive, and I get a lucky Freeze, which is really nice, but of course it gets healed up with a full restore, which is just super annoying, but eventually I take it out nonetheless. Last out is Haunter, and luckily it misses Hypnosis, so I take it down with only 2 Ice Beams. We are now at level 80, and we only have one more Elite Four member to go before we actually take on the champion. Of course, the next Elite Four member is Lance, and he has Dragon type, so Ice Beam is definitely going to be helpful here. I restore all of Water Pulse's PP, only leaving us with 1 PP restoring item left, so we definitely have to be careful on how we're going to take this one on. I use my last Shockwave to get rid of Gyarados, and I take out Aerodactyl with a critical Water Pulse, and I use an Ice Beam to take out Dragonair. Next out is this other Dragonair, and this actually comes down to range, and I get a high roll luckily on Ice Beam and take it out as well. Last but not least is his Dragonite at level 60, and I know I can't one-shot this thing with Ice Beam. It gets super close, so I end up going for Water Pulse, actually getting the confusion. Now that I did a little bit of chip damage, I end up going for Ice Beam here, and it's 4 times super effective, and I end up taking it out. It's kind of crazy to think that we're level 80, and an Ice Beam by itself isn't enough to take that Dragonite out. I mean, it's close, but we outleveled the thing by 20, and it's 4 times super effective, so I think that's pretty crazy. And with Lance out of the way and our limited amount of PP restoring items left, do you guys think we could beat the champion? I honestly don't know, so let's find out. I used the last of my PP restoring items on Ice Beam, so I have 10 to work with. I know Pidgeot has Aerial Lance, but the other Pokemon that he has could actually do a lot of damage to me, so I know I need to set up a few before I actually take this thing out. After I have 3 set up, I decide to take it out, and then I take out Rhydon with a Water Pulse. Next out is Alakazam at level 57, who can do a ton of damage to me, so I'll set up another double team, and then I finish it off with a few more Water Pulses. Next out is Executor, and I use Ice Beam. I actually end up freezing him. He unthaws, misses Sleep Powder, so I take him out with 1 more Ice Beam. Arcanine goes down in only a couple of Water Pulses, and last but not least is Blastoise, and I'm out of Shockwave PP, so I have no idea how I'm gonna do this. Long story short, I knew that I really didn't have any good moves to hit him with, and I'm gonna have to chip him down with Ice Beam, maybe luckily get a Freeze or a Confusion with Water Pulse. And unless I get a critical hit, I know that Blastoise is gonna get knocked into the full restore range. And as you can see, Blastoise is trying to hit us with a Hydro Pump, which will do a ton of damage to us. Luckily, it's pretty inaccurate the way it is, and plus we have a lot of double teams set up, so I really don't think he's gonna be landing one anytime soon. And long story short, he actually runs out of Hydro Pump PP, sets up Rain Dance, which actually ended up helping us, and he would get healed up a ton with full restores. I've beaten Blastoise many times, but he keeps getting healed up with full restores, which is super annoying. But right as I was about to run out of PP, he actually runs out of full restores, and I take him out. That took literally forever to beat, and I'm super happy that I got it done. Make sure if you guys haven't already, leave a like, because I suffer for you guys. And finally, after it seems like countless hours, we got Pico into the Hall of Fame. Thanks a ton for watching, like I said, guys, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like below. Real helps the channel out, and if you disliked the video for some reason, leave a dislike and let me know how I can improve down in the comments below. If you want to see a specific challenge from me, make sure to leave it down in the comments below, because I read every single comment. But seriously, guys, thanks a ton for watching, like I said, and I will see you guys in the next challenge video.